when the Olympics go off in Paris this summer, we will hand out the title of the world's fastest woman. And for that reason alone, Sha'Carri Richardson will always have a camera focused on her. According to Noah Lyles himself, track and field really isn't for you unless you have main character energy. And as far as Sha'Carri Richardson is concerned, she definitely has whatever that is. So it was only a matter of time until somebody took it upon themselves to get a whole camera crew and follow her around because, well, she is the most exciting thing in women's track and field right now. For that reason, Netflix decided to make a docuseries about the fastest people in the world. And of course, you know who had to be one of the stars of that show. They put a whole bunch of effort into the title and decided to call it Sprint. And now that I've watched episode 1 and finally got around to episode 2, I figured I should probably give my honest reactions to everything that I just saw. No disrespect to Netflix, but they're not really a part of the track and field community. So I know they're trying to tell Sha'Carri's story in episode 2, but they're not telling the whole story. So I figured I would fill you in, because Sha'Carri Richardson is now a reigning world champion, and clearly the favorite to win the 100-meter dash at the Olympics in Paris this summer. If she does win, that'll be her first Olympic medal to her name. But the only way she can pull that off is she's gonna have to go through one woman who is clearly standing in her way right now. Because in case you haven't been paying attention, it is Shericka Jackson of Jamaica, and not Sha'Carri Richardson, who has been the most dominant women's sprinter between the last Olympics up until now. I am aware that she's nursing some form of an injury heading into the next Olympics, but as far as we know, she is going to be there and ready to get on the line to do what only she can. And episode 2 of Sprint focuses on their rivalry, the biggest one in women's sprinting right now, heading up to a Diamond League event in Sireece. They actually faced off in the 100. To be real with you, the way they cover the episode does make it seem like almost nobody else is sprinting competitively enough to challenge either of them. But I do have to admit that both of these women have been head and shoulder above their peers right now at this point in track and field. And although the show is intense and they try to create as much drama as possible, I've got to give my real thoughts because, like I said, they left a whole bunch of stuff out. The episode starts off focusing on Sha'Carri Richardson. They even give us a quick montage of some of the things that have happened in her career leading up to the moment they started filming. We then get to see her on the track, training with her club Star Athletics. And of course, she is a larger-than-life personality. As far as the actual episode goes, I have to call out the fact that they don't spend much of any time addressing Sha'Carri's backstory. And that is kind of a problem, because it's the reason why people like her so much. Sha'Carri Richardson is famous. Not just track and field famous. I think she's starting to leave the sport when that word applies to her. And it ain't just because she is fast. It's a whole lot more than that. I'm not going to get into the details about what went down during the last Olympics, which is why she didn't get to run. But beyond that, she also has been inconsistent on the track. But she's never been inconsistent when she gets into an interview. Sha'Carri Richardson believes that she is the best in the world, even when she didn't have a medal to prove it. As far as any of the controversy, they never talked with her on camera about it. I'm assuming because she didn't want to talk about it. But the only thing that people love more than a winner is a redemption story to go along with it, which is exactly what Sha'Carri Richardson technically can offer us. Keep in mind, Sha'Carri Richardson has 3 million followers on Instagram. To put that in perspective, Noah Lyles over on the men's side ain't even at 1 million. And for the record, he's way more accomplished on the medal count than she is. So clearly Sha'Carri is resonating with something out there in society. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best high school track and field recruits in the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section because I try to read them all. Simply put, Sha'Carri Richardson is the girl who appears to have come from nothing. I'm talking started from the bottom nothing. However, she did always have her talent on the track. And whoever they put in front of her from the moment she first discovered it, she has been able to find her way to the front of the race. So she clawed her way up from sprinting on the south side of Dallas, Texas, to eventually becoming a world champion. They even play the infamous clip of her reminding us that she is one of the best to ever do it, long before she ever actually ran in a world championship level final. Yet, we also get introduced to her coach Dennis Mitchell, because the energy level that he comes with is able to match the intensity that Sha'Carri shows up to the track with. They spend a whole bunch of time focusing on the mental side of track and field, the way that you get into another sprinter's head. Everything from the warm-ups leading up to the race itself, the way that you train, the way that you talk, trash talking in the gym, all of it. And Dennis Mitchell makes it clear that he really wants to coach a world champion, but he hasn't had athletes with that level of talent up until recently. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Sha'Carri at the moment. They do tell us that he was a professional sprinter who went on to win world level medals, but they conveniently left out that he was also suspended at some point in his career, and you can probably figure out why. I don't talk about this topic much because I really don't enjoy it, but we can't just ignore the fact that athletes do get suspended for legitimate reasons that question the integrity of their training. In Dennis Mitchell's case, he got suspended for 2 years, and later on, he was asked to testify during the Balco scandal. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google it. We have to acknowledge the fact that there is a dark cloud that hovers over the sport of sprinting, specifically due to situations like the one that Dennis Mitchell went through. People don't really know if they can trust the time that we're seeing on the clock anymore. And whenever somebody does something special, there is that little part of our brains that questions if it's really legit. I'm not blaming him personally or anybody else for that matter, but what I am saying, they had an opportunity with this docuseries to control the narrative. Like, we can't figure out from the internet that these things actually went down. So I can sum up all my thoughts on the Sha'Carri Richardson side of the episode like this. It feels like going on a college campus and taking a tour, but they refuse to let you actually look inside any of the buildings because they're afraid of what you might find. We know that Sha'Carri Richardson is fast and that she has to train hard in order to pull that off. But beyond the walls of that part of the story is where the real entertainment lies. Remember, she is a woman who basically always felt like an outcast. She says that I know I ain't like everybody else. But she also had the talent to outrun just about anyone else they could put in front of her at any level she's competing at. And she now has a coach who became an outcast in the sport that he dedicated his entire life to, because at one point he was believed to have cut corners in that sport while he was trying to get every ounce out of the talent that he had. That is a very compelling story, and it's one that they really refuse to get into. But on the other side of the episode, they at least let us know a little bit more about what's happening with Shericka Jackson. She really doesn't have a whole bunch of controversy surrounding her. She is just incredibly talented. So talented, in fact, where she has the entire hope of a nation on her back, because she is supposed to carry them to gold on the world stage again. We know how good Jamaican sprinting has been from 2008 up until now. That is on both the men's and the women's sides. Bolt took care of the men's side by himself, but you gotta give credit to both Shelly and Fraser Price and Elaine Thompson-Herah, because they basically took all the world medals by themselves between then and now. Shericka Jackson is younger than both of them and supposed to keep that trend going, which is why the narrative of the episode is that Shericka Jackson is supposed to be the future of Jamaican sprinting. The only problem is, the future is right now. You have to consider the two separate narratives that we get to watch on screen. Sha'Carri Richardson is supposed to be as good as she advertises herself to be, but the pressure on Shericka Jackson is for her to be as good as her entire nation expects her to be. That's not the same. Her coach even says to the camera that Jamaican fans at this point are spoiled because they fully expect to see gold. They don't even recognize any other color medals. Over the last few years, nobody's been touching Shericka Jackson in the 200, and she's always been right there in the 100. She's actually the second fastest woman in the world to Flojo. And the reason why that's an even bigger deal than you might realize is because when it comes to the women's sprint records, nobody has broken those records for the past 30 years because all of them were set during the 1980s. I'm not gonna say the word because I already alluded to it earlier in this video, but you know what I'm talking about. Those records are questionable, but we don't have the evidence to prove any of it, so the records still stand on the boards. And for that reason, every woman who is sprinting in the game right now is essentially chasing a ghost. The Diamond League race inside Leisha between Shericka Jackson and Sha'Carri Richardson is billed as a World Championship level preview, which is exactly what it became, because the way that race played out is essentially what happened in real life again at the championship itself, after all the mental games and the trash talk between the athletes and the coaches themselves. Shericka Jackson runs incredibly fast. The only thing is, Sha'Carri Richardson figured out how to run just a little bit faster, sneaking past her at the line. I know that Shericka Jackson is supposedly not 100% heading into the next Olympics, so Sha'Carri Richardson has to be the favorite. But to be clear, in this episode, the fact that they ignore all the other women in the world, at least as far as I'm concerned, is something that I have to address, because to be real with you, these two women have been the most dominant for the last 4 years heading into this Olympics. Sha'Carri Richardson is really a 100-meter runner. She does run the 200, but she ain't even qualified for the Olympics coming out of the Olympic trials. And Shericka Jackson runs both, but she's really a 200-meter runner, which is why she has dominated that event the same way Noah Lyles did on the men's side. Theoretically speaking, both of them could get beat in either event. But we also know the truth, that from what we have to go off of, they are capable of running times that nobody else in the world has proven that they can run, at least right now. Julian Alfred of St. Lucia might be the next world level threat, and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce of Jamaica is perhaps the last threat that we saw, who maybe, because she's still in the game, can get back to her old form. But heading into Paris this summer, it does feel like this is their moment. Shericka Jackson and Sha'Carri Richardson, and everybody else is just coming for participation. So shout out to Netflix for wanting to cover the sport, even if they didn't want to actually cover all of it. They didn't want to cover all the athletes, and ain't even want to cover all of the story. If you're a fan of either woman, you should probably watch the episode if you haven't already. But as far as the Olympics are concerned, I just hope that they are able to perform at their best when the lights are on, because this moment is probably the only one they're gonna get to pull it off. SCA track and field gear is here. Fast is a lifestyle, and what you wear should reflect that. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop, or click the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it's always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.